Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be a makeup declutter. I am going to be going through and decluttering my collection over the next few months. I'm not going to do it all at once just because I feel like when I do that, I tend to get a little bit overwhelmed. So I'll probably upload a new declutter video like every 2 weeks. I'm probably going to do bigger categories like all of my face products, all of my cheek products, things like that. So they might be a little bit longer, but I feel like the new year is the perfect time just to declutter my collection, refresh it, and remove products that I'm no longer using. As the year goes by, sometimes I choose shades that don't match me very well, or I find alternatives in my collection that I like better. So I like to go through and remove the products that I'm no longer using. So nothing is going to waste. I always pass these products along to friends and family. I have a ton of cousins, my sisters, my mom, they all love makeup. If something is old or expired, obviously I won't pass that along. But for the most part, I'm able to catch products before they expire because I do declutter throughout the year. So today I'm focusing on face products. So I have setting sprays, primers, concealers, powders, and then foundations. So let's jump into it. Hopefully this video won't be too long. My goal is just to remove enough products that it's not overflowing. I just have too many. I don't have a specific number goal in mind, but I just want to have a little bit more space so the products aren't all stacked on top of each other like this, because when they're like this, I don't even really know what I have. Let's start with face primers. So what I'm going to do is take out all of these concealers, and then any primers I want to keep, I'll just move over into this section. So I know that I have 2 of these Too Faced primers. I have a mini and a full-size version. This is the Too Faced Plump and Prime. I really like this primer. I think it does a great job at just smoothing out your skin before you go in with any foundation. It's a super lightweight formula. It almost feels a little bit like a serum. So I'm actually going to keep the mini. It takes me a long time to get through face primers, especially because I do have quite a few, and then I'll pass the full-sized one along to someone else. This is the Smashbox Photo Finish Primerizer. I think they actually discontinued this. I am so sad. I know that Smashbox came out with a new line of primers, and they do have a new one that they call the Primerizer, but it's like the Primerizer Plus. So I'm kind of curious to try it out and see how it compares. At this point, I don't need any new primers because I have a lot in my collection, as you'll see, but I am going to hang on to this, use it up completely. It's been one of my favorites for years, so I'll be really sad if it is discontinued. And I think it is because I went to look for it the other day online and I couldn't find it. That being said, if you're looking for a good alternative, this one from Catrice is super similar. It is their Aqua Fresh Hydro Primer. I feel like it's a little bit more of a gel-like texture, whereas the Primerizer is more of a super liquidy serum texture. But they prime your skin in such a similar way that this is a really good alternative, especially now that this one is no longer available. So I'm going to keep this one too. I have a lot of primers that are kind of similar to that as well. So I have this one from JCat Beauty. It is the H2O Fresh Dewy Base and Primer. And then I also have this one from Hard Candy. It is the Sheer Envy Hydrating Primer. So I feel like I don't need to keep all 3 of these. I'm going to keep the Catrice one. I think I'll keep the Hard Candy one as well, but this one is probably the newest one to my collection. It's really, really good, but like I said, the other 2 are so similar. So because this one is a little bit newer, I'm going to pass this one along to someone else. I have a few primers from NYX. NYX primers are a little bit expensive. I mean, I don't remember how much this one was exactly. This newer one that I got was $17, and I feel like this was right around the same price tag. So this one went viral last year on TikTok. It's the Marshmallow Primer. It feels really good on the skin. It's really soft, but it's not necessarily a standout primer in my collection right now. So I'm going to pass this product along. I am going to keep this one because it's newer to me. It's the Plump Right Back. I really like this one. Again, it leaves my skin feeling really smooth. It's kind of similar to a few other ones that I mentioned in that it has a really thin serum-like texture, which is a formula that I've been enjoying lately, so I will keep this one. Okay, these next 2 primers are kind of similar. This one is from Ole Henriksen. It's the Banana Bright Face Primer. This used to be one of my favorites, but to be honest with you, I haven't reached for it since my last declutter video, so that means it is time for it to go. I really enjoyed this for a long time. I feel like these days I either prefer a really hydrating primer or something that's slightly tacky, and I don't really need something that brightens up the skin because I typically go in with a foundation that's a little bit more full coverage anyway. So I am going to declutter this one. I think I'm actually going to declutter this one from Fourth Ray Beauty as well. This one is the Hello Sunshine Brightening Priming Moisturizer. I don't know if this is a new product. I don't remember this being in my collection. I think I might have gotten this in the mail as PR, and then I just threw it in here before I got the chance to test it out. So I'm pretty sure this is brand new. So I'm actually going to donate this. If something's brand new, I do donate it. I try to do that with PR before it even hits my makeup collection. But once in a while, products kind of sneak through and end up in here. So I mentioned that I'm kind of into primers that have a little bit of a tacky base, and that's where these three fall. So I have the e.l.f. Jelly Pop Primer. I just repurchased this because I used it up completely. It is such a good primer for locking your foundation into place all day long. This one is the e.l.f. Mint Melt Primer. I really like this one. It's very similar to the Jelly Pop, but it's definitely thicker. It's a little bit more hydrating. So this is going to be a good option if you have dry skin and you want to lock your makeup into place. I also just got this one from e.l.f. This is the Power Grip Primer. They're very similar. Mint Melt is a little bit thicker and it does have a mint scent to it. So I think I'm actually going to hang on to this one from e.l.f. It's fragrance free. It does a really good job at hydrating your skin and locking your makeup into place. They're very, very similar, but I think I like the new one a little bit better. So I'm going to declutter Mint Melt and pass it along to someone else. So I do have a mini of this Milk Makeup Hydro Grip Primer. I feel like the e.l.f. primer is a really good dupe for the Milk Makeup one. I had a full-sized version of it that I decluttered, and then I don't know how this mini got in my collection. I might have gotten it as like a gift with purchase. So again, I haven't used this product. I'm going to donate this one because I just don't need it. The e.l.f. one works really well for me. Here's a little mini version of the Pretty Fresh primer from ColourPop. This primer just doesn't work well for me. I love the entire Pretty Fresh line. I have the foundation, I have the powders, but the actual primer is just like a little bit too slippery for my skin. I feel like when I wear foundation on top of this, it just kind of slips off. So I'm going to declutter this one. I'm also going to declutter this Rare Beauty one. I've had this little mini in my collection for a few months. Again, I think I got it as like a gift with purchase when I purchased something from Sephora. I haven't used this regularly. I honestly don't know if I love it or I hate it. I feel like I just tend to skip over it. So I'm just going to declutter it. This one is from Catrice. It is the Pore Refining Anti-Shine Base. This is such a good primer because it does smooth the skin, but it also keeps your skin matte throughout the day, but it's not drying. So I'm going to hang on to this one. It is one of my favorites, especially during the summertime. And then I have another mattifying one. This one is the Farsali Liquid Powder Oil Balancing Serum. Unfortunately, I think this was discontinued because Farsali, I don't think they're selling products any longer. I know they said on their Instagram they were taking an extended break. I haven't heard anything about the status of the brand, but I'm going to use this until it is completely gone. It is my go-to primer in the summertime because it mattifies my skin so well, so much better than any other primer. This one from Makeup Revolution is similar, so especially now that Farsali is no longer available, it could be a good alternative. It's not quite as mattifying as the Farsali one. It definitely has a little bit more of like a smoothing property to it, but I think I'll hang on to this one too, just because the Farsali one will no longer be available once I use it up. This one is from Tula. This is the Face Filter Blurring and Priming Moisturizer. I love this product so much. It just gives your skin like this natural radiance. It gives you almost like this blurred effect. It looks like you're wearing a filter in real life as much as, you know, that's possible. So I am going to keep this one. And then I have one more. This one back here is from Fenty. I don't know where I got this. I don't know if it came in the mail as PR. I don't get PR from Fenty, so I don't know if it came in like a random box or I got it in a subscription box, but this is a full-size version of their Pro Filter Primer. I've had it in my drawer for a little while. I thought I was going to use it, I just haven't had the chance to use it, so I'm actually going to donate this product as well. If something actually makes it into my collection and I don't end up trying it, I feel like instead of hanging on to it and telling myself, I'll get around to trying it, I just need to declutter it because I probably won't use it anytime soon. Okay, I feel like that was a pretty good start. I'm definitely happy with this smaller, more curated primer collection. So next, let me do concealers. Okay, I did not realize that I had so many concealers. I don't typically try a lot of new concealer formulas, but I did try out, I guess I tried more this year than I normally do. So one formula I am going to keep is this one. It is the IT Cosmetics Bye Bye Under Eye. So I have two shades. This one is 11 Light Nude, and then this one is 20 Medium. They're very different. I actually use this as a spot concealer. I don't use it under the eyes. I tried it under the eyes years ago, and I just felt like it was a little bit too heavy. I don't need a ton of coverage under my eyes because I don't deal with dark circles. I usually just like a concealer to kind of brighten things up, even out my skin tone a little bit, but this works so well as a spot concealer. The coverage is amazing, so I love to use this before I apply foundation. I actually like having two shades of this. One is like more ideal for the summertime, one's a little bit better for the winter, so I am going to keep both. I am going to declutter this. It is the NYX Can't Stop, Won't Stop Concealer. I have the shade Vanilla. So I had this in my collection years ago, and then I think I ended up decluttering it. I repurchased it maybe last year, and I just don't reach for it very often. I feel like it's an okay concealer, but it's not anything super special. So for me, I just don't use it. It's time to declutter it. I am going to keep this concealer. This is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Magic Touch Concealer. So on the left is the shade 4, and then on the right is the shade 6. This was my number one concealer of 2021. It is so smooth under the eyes and on the face if you're using it as a spot concealer. It blends out in seconds. It is such a pretty formula. I don't think I've loved a concealer this much since I tried the Too Faced Born This Way, which is like my all-time favorite concealer for years and years. This one is so good. So I am going to keep this one. And then speaking of the Too Faced Born This Way, I'm going to keep this one too. I have the shade Almond. This formula is a little bit thinner than the Anastasia Beverly Hills one. They're very similar in terms of blendability, but the Anastasia Beverly Hills one has more of like a true like velvety satin finish, and the Too Faced one is more of a satin finish, but it's a little bit more liquidy. They both have really good coverage though. Okay, so I don't think I've used this ColourPop concealer in the past year. I can't say it's expired. I've had it for a few years at this point. On the right is the shade Fair 15W, and then on the left is the shade Fair 45W. I just feel like I went back and forth on the same concealers last year, so this one really, it didn't get touched in my collection, and I can't imagine I'm going to use it anytime soon just because I am hooked on the Anastasia Beverly Hills one, the Too Faced one. So I think I'm actually going to declutter this. It's such a good concealer if you like a hydrating concealer, and I do love the Pretty Fresh line, but I don't need to keep it if I haven't used it. I think it's time to declutter this one from e.l.f. I think it is expired. I haven't had it for, well, have I? I can't remember when this was released. It is the Hydrating Camo Concealer. I have the shade Light Beige. I love this formula. Yeah, it's really liquidy. It definitely separated. I probably could repurchase this. I think I'll wait a little while just because, I mean, my concealer collection got a little bit out of hand this past year. I've tried mixing this one up and it just separates again. So I think it's time to part with this one. I don't even have the original one in my collection anymore. I love the original one. I love the hydrating one too. I just haven't used them in a little while. I do like this formula from e.l.f. They released this last year. This is their Flawless Brightening Concealer. So I have 2 shades. I feel like I have 2 shades in most complexion products just because it's so hard to get your perfect shade. And, oh, there's the sticker. So this one is Fair 15W, and then on the light is L26N. This is a really nice concealer. It's definitely light coverage, and I don't have too many light coverage concealers in my collection because typically I like more of a full coverage look, but this one is so perfect when you don't want a lot of makeup, and I love to use this during the summertime too. So I am going to keep this formula from e.l.f. Here's the original camo concealer. This one still looks good. I think I might have replaced this one in my collection before the other one, so I'm going to keep this one. It still looks like it will work well. I do have 2 of these Kosas concealers. Or no, I used up the lighter shade, so the deeper shade that I have is 05. It's a little bit dark for me during the winter time, but it's a really good option during the summer. I love to use this one as a spot concealer too. So I'm going to keep this one. I am going to declutter this JCat one. It's too light for me. This one is their Stay Assurance concealer, and I have the shade Custard. I like lighter concealers because they do provide a brightening aspect, but this one's a little bit too light. I just feel like it's a very stark difference between my concealer and my foundation when I wear it. But it's a nice formula if you like a super hydrating formula. So if you have dry skin or you like more of a hydrating concealer, I think you'll enjoy this. The shade matches just off. I am going to declutter this one. I pretty much used it up fully. It's the Milani Conceal and Perfect. Last time I used this, it looked so bad on my skin. And this is one of my favorite formulas, so I think it actually expired, or we're just getting down to like the very bottom. So the formula has changed a little bit. It looked so heavy on my skin, really cakey. It did not blend out well, so it is time for this one to go. But at some point I'll repurchase it once I kind of make my way through a few more. I have a few Makeup Revolution concealers. I think these are all the same. I think I just have 3 shades, so I might have to swatch these. This is the Conceal and Define Infinite Longwear Concealer. So I have C6.5, and then I also have C5.5, and then this one is C5.7. So they're all probably pretty close. Let me swatch them for you. All right, my camera has a hard time focusing whenever I'm decluttering. For some reason, it's just the way that it's set up. Okay, I can't move my hand or it will unfocus. So on the top, I have 5.5. The middle is 5.7, and then the bottom is 6.5. I'm actually going to keep the middle one, 5.7. It's a little bit yellow toned, but I feel like that's probably the closest shade match. So these are the ones that I'm decluttering. I'm getting rid of 7. Actually, I'm decluttering this one too. So I'm decluttering 8 and then I'm keeping 10. Okay, I'm doing a pretty good. I'm going to save setting sprays for the end because I feel like setting sprays are just like one of the more boring categories, and then I'll move on to foundations and powders. So this is the ColourPop Pretty Fresh Foundation, which is my #1 foundation. I have 3 shades. So on the left, I have Light 70W, which I use in the summer. I mix this with Light 45W, which is kind of my go-to shade. That matches me pretty well in like the fall. So in the summer, I'll mix in a little bit of 70W, and then in the winter, I'll mix in a little bit of Fair 25W. So I'm going to keep all 3 of these. Honestly, what would be really helpful is if I just purchase a foundation lightener, which I plan on doing. But for now, I don't have one. I just purchased this product from LA Girl based on your recommendations. You mix it in with foundations that are a little bit too warm toned, and it actually neutralizes them, which has been so helpful. So I'm planning on purchasing the white one to lighten foundations that are a little bit too dark for me. And then that way I don't need to have so many different foundation colors in my collection. So obviously I'm going to keep this. This is the LA Girl Pro Matte Foundation. It's been a little bit too warm toned for me, but now that I have that blue foundation mixed in, I think I'll be able to wear it more. So I am going to hang on to this. You know what? I am going to declutter the Fenty Eavesdrop Blurring Skin Tint. I want to like skin tints, I just typically don't. If I'm going to wear foundation, I want it to cover. Otherwise, I'll just get foundation and wear a little bit of concealer and powder. This looks pretty good on the skin. I did wear it when it first came out last year. Quite a bit. Was that last year? I think so. But I haven't really reached for it like the second half of the year because I just prefer to wear foundation or no base product at all other than concealer. And now I'm kind of into powder foundation. So I just feel like this doesn't have a purpose in my collection right now. So I am going to declutter it. I'm also going to declutter the Bite Beauty Changemaker. This was in my project pan last year. I did not film a project pan finale video and I did not film a project pan intro video for 2022. Life has just been crazy over the past few months, and I feel like I don't really want to focus on using up specific products in 2022. I just want to focus on everything in my collection and using products I already have rather than confining myself to specific products. So I don't think I plan on doing one right now. That could change as the year goes by, but probably not. I think I'm going to declutter this. Again, I just haven't reached for it over the past few months. It's not my go-to formula, so I'm just going to remove it from my collection so I can focus on other products. The Catrice True Skin Foundation is one of my favorites too, either this one or the ColourPop Pretty Fresh. So I have 3 shades. I have 04 Neutral Porcelain, which is super light, but I actually mix it with 030 Neutral Sand, and I feel like that works pretty well for me. I have a 3rd shade too. This one is 20 Warm Beige. It's a little bit too warm for me. I mean, I could use those LA Girl drops to mix into this, but between the other 2, I feel like I'm good. So I'm just going to declutter this one and keep the other 2 shades. I do have the Fenty Beauty Pro Filter Soft Matte Foundation. This used to be my go-to foundation. It's been so long since I've really worn it regularly. I will probably reach for this on like special occasions when I want my foundation to stay in place all day long, but it's no longer my go-to. When I do wear this, I mix both shades together. So I am going to hang on to both of them. I feel like this is something I reach for on occasion for like special occasions, and I'm just not ready to declutter it yet. So I have 2 of these. These are the Catrice HD Liquid Coverage Foundations. So I have 08 Fair Beige and then 10 Light Beige. So I'm going to keep light beige and declutter fair beige. I don't know why, but whenever I wear fair beige, I don't love the way that color looks on me. For a while it was my go-to. I mean, this bottle looks rough because I used it so much, but I definitely prefer light beige. Even though it's just slightly too dark, I feel like I can make it work, and I just prefer that tone on my skin overall. So I'll declutter one and then keep one. I am going to declutter this. This is the Soul Body Face and Body Makeup. So when I tried this out, I have 2 shades. Let me just grab the other one. On the left is Fair 2, and then on the right is Fair 4. So when I tried this out, I actually really liked how it looked on the skin. I thought it stayed in place really well. I just don't really wear body makeup at all, to be honest with you. So I feel like I just don't need to keep this in my collection. I don't end up reaching for it as just a foundation because I have other foundations I like. I know that my mom really likes this product, so I'm actually going to pass these along to her and see if these shades will match her skin tone. I am going to keep the LYS Beauty Triple Fix Serum Foundation. I have the shade LG6. This is a lighter coverage foundation that I really enjoy because it looks so good on the skin. It just looks really healthy, super hydrating. I also love the Flower Beauty Light Illusion. So on the left, I have Porcelain, and then on the right, I have the shade Nude. This is like a super glowy foundation, but it has good coverage. The LYS one is a little bit lighter coverage, and this has more intense coverage. So I feel like I'll use this on days where I want more coverage and this on days where I don't want as much. So I am going to keep these. I think I'm going to declutter the e.l.f. Camo CC Cream. I don't know. I go back and forth on this. When I first tried it, I have too many foundations in my hand. Let me set these down. When I first tried the e.l.f. Camo CC Cream, I didn't like it. And then I started using it a different way, and I did like it. And in the end, I feel like it does look good on my skin if I take the time to apply it, but it's not a fast product. It just takes a little bit more work to get there, which I don't mind, but honestly, I haven't reached for it over the past few months. I feel like when it comes to foundation, I don't move away from my favorites too often. And as much as I do enjoy this, I've never really been able to find a shade that matches me perfectly. So that is one of the reasons why I haven't reached for these as much. Fair 140W is super yellow, and then Light 210N is just too dark for me. So even when I mix them together, the foundation shade is always just a little bit off. So if they do release additional shades and I can find one in the right undertone, I do think I will repurchase it, but for now I'm going to declutter these two. I am going to declutter the Urban Decay Stay Naked. I like this foundation a lot, but ever since I got the LYS Beauty one, I haven't reached for this. I feel like they're very similar. They both have lighter to medium coverage, but I like the way the LYS Beauty one sits on my skin better, and it also lasts a little bit longer than Urban Decay. So I think it's time to part with this one. I've had it for a while. It's starting to separate. I don't know that it's actually expired, but I haven't used it in months, ever since I got the LYS one. I just have a few more in here. So this is from Urban Decay. It is the Hydromaniac. I think I'll actually keep this. I want to try mixing this in with a few foundations I have. I like it on its own. It's just not long lasting on my oily skin. It looks so pretty when I apply it for like the first few hours, but by the end of the day, it is melting off my skin. But I feel like it could be really nice mixed into a more matte foundation. So I am going to try that. I have two of the e.l.f. Flawless Finish foundations. I am going to keep these. On the left is Vanilla, and then on the right is Shell. Again, I just mixed them together to get my perfect shade. I do like this foundation. It's such a good everyday foundation. The only thing about this foundation that I don't like is the fact that it has a really strong scent, but I feel like I can overlook it because it does look really pretty on the skin. So I am decluttering 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, probably in my least decluttered category is going to be powder, just because whenever a powder doesn't work for me, I usually declutter it on the spot rather than trying to make it work for me. So I don't know how many of these powders I'm going to get rid of, but we'll see. Actually, one powder I am going to declutter is this one. They no longer make this. It's the e.l.f. Plus Matte Blotting Powder. I would keep it if I still used it, but I tend to reach for the Essence All About Matte over this one, at least lately, so I am going to declutter this one. Here's the Essence All About Matte. This is my favorite touch-up powder during the summertime when my skin is extremely oily, so I am going to keep this one. And then I have a couple of powders from e.l.f. This is the Halo Glow Setting Powder in the shade Light. I'm going to keep this. It's one of my favorites. It just does such a great job at brightening up your skin. It's also a good finishing powder. This one is the e.l.f. Matte Setting Powder. I have the shade Light. I'm also going to keep this one. I use this one as an actual setting powder all over the face, but I am going to declutter this one from Milani. This one is called the Make It Last Setting Powder. I have the shade Translucent Light Medium. It works well enough. I feel like it is so similar to the e.l.f. powder, and I don't need to keep both of them, and I tend to reach for the e.l.f. powder over this, so I'm going to let go of this one. I have a few powder foundations in here. I just repurchased this. It's the it's the Pure Cosmetics 4-in-1 Pressed Mineral Makeup in the shade Vanilla. I don't know if this is different than when I initially tried it. I don't know. I have a couple of powder foundations in my collection I really like, and I didn't love the way that this looked on my skin. But I only tried applying it with a brush because it doesn't actually come with a sponge. So I think I'm just going to take a sponge from one of my other powders and try it with this product before I declutter it, because I used to love this. So I want to try it at least one more time before I decide to get rid of it. This is new. It's the JCat Beauty Aquassurance. It's in my everyday makeup drawer to try for the month of February. So I have the shade Ivory. I haven't actually tried it yet, so I am going to be testing it out in February. What other powder foundations do I have? I have this one from Fenty. This one is in the shade 180. This is like my summer powder foundation shade, so I'm going to keep this. And then I also have I guess I have 3 of the Urban Decay powder foundation. So this is the Stay Naked The Fix. I am going to declutter the shade 20YW. It's too light for me. I have this in my project pan. I used up a good amount of it, but every single time I wear it as a powder foundation, it's just too light for my skin. So I did purchase it in the shade 30NN and then also the shade 30YW. These are really, really similar on the skin, but 30YW is a better match for me. 30NN, I feel like I can make it work. It is my favorite powder foundation formula, so I'm going to keep both shades and maybe just mix them together. I feel like 30YW is maybe a little bit too yellow, and 30NN is a little bit too light, so I wish there was just like a slightly better shade match for me, but I feel like I can make them work. So are these all the ones? These are all the ones I'm keeping so far. I think I'll probably end up keeping the rest of these, but I'll still show you. I have the IT Cosmetics Bye Bye Pores Press. This looks like a mess. I have this in a makeup bag with me, and that's just why it looks so messy. It's the type of packaging that just attracts makeup to it. I love this product. I've been using it to set my entire face on days where I just want like a light setting powder, and that works so perfectly. And then I also have the Flower Beauty Light Illusion. I have the shade Porcelain. This is still one of my favorite products. I feel like it is such a good dupe for the Charlotte Tilbury powder, which I do like that powder, but it's expensive. And when I had that in my collection, I went through it so quickly. So if you're looking for a more affordable alternative, try the Flower Beauty Light Illusion. I guess I have 2 of these. Are they the same shade? They are. I have 2 of the NYX Can't Stop, Won't Stop powders. This is really similar to the Flower Beauty Light Illusion as well. It provides a little bit of coverage. It definitely leaves your skin looking super smooth. And in fact, this formula is really similar to the ColourPop Pretty Fresh Pressed Powder. I have the shades Light 4 and Light 6. Here's Light 6. This one's a little bit dark for me, but I feel like this will match me better in the summer. And then Light 4 is slightly too light, but again, I mean, it's pretty close. So I do love this formula. It's so nice. The compact is a little bit big, but it's not as big as some of their other compacts. Like the compacts they have their Soul Body highlighters in are so big. Last thing, I have the Urban Decay All Nighter powder, which I typically use in the summer to lock everything into place. So I'm only decluttering 3 powders, which isn't a lot. Like I said, when I try a powder and it doesn't work for me, I usually just declutter it right away because I know what I like when it comes to powder, but I'm going to keep these. I just realized I have some products back here. I have the Too Faced Peach Perfect Powder. I guess this is available again. You guys, we have this ongoing discussion on my channel about how they discontinue it and it's on sale, it's on clearance, so some of us buy like a backup and then it's back on the website. So I have no idea what they're doing with this. All I know is that I still love it. I still use it all the time. So I do have that in my collection. This one is the LYS Beauty powder, which is very similar to the IT Cosmetics. And I love using this on days when I'm using a more hydrating foundation like Flower Beauty when I don't want to take away all the glow. So I do love this one. And then I have the Huda Beauty powder too. I just bumped my camera, so hopefully that looks okay. I didn't use this yet. It's the Pound Cake powder. I do want to try this. It's fairly new to my collection, and I saw someone on TikTok using this, and it looked amazing. Although you have to be careful with TikTok because of the beauty filter. I mean, you have to be careful because of filters and social media in general. Everything looks good on TikTok though because that beauty filter is strong. So I'm keeping 18 powders and I'm only decluttering 3. But I am okay with that because those are all powders I know I will use. I love powder. I think it's one of my favorite makeup products. That's going to throw off my average in the end though, but that's okay. So I have 2 primers that I missed. The e.l.f. Poreless Putty Primer, which I love. This does a great job at smoothing out your skin. And then I also have the matte version as well. I love both of them. I know they have a luminous version too, but for my skin type, the matte one is the best. And then I will occasionally use the regular one too. So I'm going to keep these. So let's finish off with setting sprays. I am actually not planning on keeping a lot of these. They're not all setting sprays, but I just don't use setting spray super regularly. I will use it on occasion, but it's just not something I reach for all the time. So the first thing in here is actually another primer. This is the e.l.f. Oil Control Primer. I am keeping this. This is such a good primer because it feels like water, but it does keep your skin from getting oily throughout the day. I also have this product. It's the e.l.f. Matte Plus Blotting Mist, or no, the e.l.f. Plus Matte Blotting Mist. I don't think they make this anymore, but I will use this as a priming spray in the summer, and it starts my base off with a really nice mattified finish. So I'm going to keep this too. Okay, I'm not off to a good start, but I am getting rid of other ones. So I'm decluttering this, the ColourPop Pretty Fresh Hyaluronic Setting Mist. If you want a glowy finish, You'll really enjoy this. I think it looks so pretty on the skin, but I definitely don't prefer a glowy setting spray. I just feel like it kind of undoes a little bit of the work that I put into my makeup because I do like more of a matte finish. So I'm also going to declutter the Forthright Beauty Glisten Up Illuminating Mist for the same reason. This gives you more of a glowy finish. I'll just pass it along to someone else. I really like this product, the Ciate Watermelon Burst Setting Spray, but I'm so over watermelon scented products. I went through a phase last year and all I wanted was everything watermelon scented, and I feel like I burnt myself out because now I can't have like watermelon makeup, maybe an occasional watermelon lip product, but anything else is just too much for me. So I'm going to declutter it for that reason. It's a lousy reason, but unfortunately I'm just not using it. I am going to declutter this e.l.f. Jen Atkins spray. It works really nicely. I think it looks really good on the skin, but again, I'm just trying to minimize my setting spray collection and pass the rest on. I am going to keep the Urban Decay All-Nighter. So one of these is almost empty, I'm sure. Okay, this one's full, this one's like half full. Same with this one. So I'm going to keep all three of these because this is the setting spray that I rely on the most when I do want to wear a setting spray. But I am going to declutter this one from e.l.f. It's really good, but again, I just don't need a ton of them. I just don't wear it enough to justify keeping all of them. And this one works really well, so I think one of my sisters will like this. One of my sisters does love to use a setting spray, so I think I'm going to ask her to try this and let me know what she thinks. I am going to keep the Milani Make It Last. I just like to have a good drugstore option as well. Between these, I think I'll pretty much be set. So I will declutter the Ulta Beauty Wanna Be Free Matte Setting Spray. Honestly, I used this like one time. It worked really well, but I just have too many options in my collection, so it doesn't get used. And then I'm going to declutter this one. This one is a nice hydrating setting spray, so if you have dry skin, it doesn't leave you with like an overly glowy look, but it doesn't feel like it's sucking the moisture out of your skin, which is nice. Okay, so I think that is the end. Let me zoom out and show you guys what everything looks like now. Okay, you guys, here's a look at everything I decided to keep. So this is what my drawer looks like. I will take some of these products out and put them in my everyday makeup drawer, so there will actually be more room than this. I think I need to probably stop buying powder for a little while until I make it through some of these, but I'm happy with this because these are products I know that I'll use. Here's a look at everything I decided to declutter. So I actually started with 100 products, which is kind of a lot. I didn't realize I had so many. I decluttered 37 and I kept 63, so about 40% has been decluttered, which is good. That's usually kind of where I end up, just naturally. So these will all be going to a good home. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching my first declutter video of 2022. Like I said, I'm not filming all of these at the same time, so let me know which category you want me to declutter next. And if you like declutter videos, I have a ton of them on my channel, so I'll put a link in the description box below if you guys want to check them out. And I will see you very soon with a new video. Bye.